National Broadcasting Company presents the National Football League. Today from Cleveland Stadium, it's the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Cleveland Browns. Brought to you by Budweiser. Beechwood aids to that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By Hewlett-Packard. Computer solutions from the people who never stop asking, what if? And by BMW, the ultimate driving machine. To arrange a thorough test drive, phone your nearest BMW dealer.
It is a cold, blustery day along the shores of Lake Erie, and a sellout crowd of 80,000 settling in, awaiting now the 35th renewal of a great interstate rivalry between the Bengals and the Browns. Hello, everyone. I'm Gary Gerald, along with former Cleveland head coach Sam Rutigliano, and there's a lot at stake in this ball game today. The Browns, of course, struggling. They were a Super Bowl contender a couple of weeks ago in the estimation of many at 7-3, but back-to-back losses have them scrambling now in the AFC Central.
Right. Well, this is going to be a 1950 game. Cold, it's going to be a rock'em sock'em running game, a lot of dirt, a lot of mud outside, right near Lake Erie. But it's a dangerous game for Cleveland because they have everything to gain and Cincinnati has nothing to lose. So look, Gary, for Cleveland to get the running game out of mothballs, get Biner and Mack back into the flow and make sure they take a lot of pressure off young Bernie Kosar.
Now with the playoff possibilities on the line for the Browns, for the Bengals, they've been a tough luck team all year. Job security could be on the line today for head coach Sam Wyche.
Well, Cincinnati's not a 4-8 team. They lost 3 games by a total of 4 points. Sam Wyche, if he could put a little package on the Paul Brown's Christmas tree with a Cleveland win on it, he possibly could save his job. Other than that, Gary, Sam Wyche really doesn't have much to worry about in this football game.
So grab your gloves and pull up your longies, and I hope you're warm and cozy wherever you are, because we're ready for a chilly afternoon in Cleveland, but we think it's going to be a great football game. Marty Schottenheimer, who came within 1 game of getting the Browns to the Super Bowl last year, currently 7-5, struggling to stay alive in the AFC Central. Little sunshine at the moment, temperature in the mid-30s, winds gusting up to 17 miles per hour. This kickoff sponsored by Budweiser, the king of beers. Cleveland, winning the toss, has elected to receive. Browns trying to shake out of the doldrums after that stunning upset here last week against Indianapolis at 9-7, and the crushing loss the week previous in San Francisco to the 49ers 38-24.
Well, you know, Glenn Young is back returning kickoffs, and Jim Breach is not a deep kicker, so look for a good return.
Here's Breach's kick right down the middle. It is short. It's not going to get to Young. It's not going to get to anybody. It goes out of bounds at the 21-yard line.
Puts the ball on the 35-yard line, which is the new rule this year. Except in onside kicks, you can't repeat it the second time.
Bob Frederick is our referee today. You see him here now.
Illegal kickoff out of bounds. The ball will be scrimmaged from the 35-yard line.
So Cleveland will go to work with the football. You've heard a lot about Ernest Biner and Kevin Mack, a couple of big backs who a couple of years ago ran for 1,000 yards apiece. Bernie Kosar, who just turned 24 last month at the controls. Langhorne, Slaughter, and Newsom are the 3 leading receivers. Farron, Williams, Babb, Fike, and Risen, the offensive line. Ricky Bolden out for the last few weeks with an injury, and on the ground straight ahead, Kevin Mack powering for yardage, but there's a penalty marker down on the very first play of the day. Tim Crumryan on the tackle.
And it's against Cleveland. I guess it's holding penalty.
A lot of emotion in this one today, as you would well anticipate. Great series in Ohio.
Offensive holding, number 69. The first down, number 1 will be replayed.
Dan Fike, the right guard. You know what Cleveland's going to have to do early in the game. Don't give Cincinnati any breaks early. Keep momentum going for them.
Second down or first down. The ball moved back to the 25. It's 1st and 20 now for the Browns. Mack, the lone setback. Ozzie Newsome in motion now as Kosar backpedals to throw for the first time. In and out of the arms of the intended receiver, Brian Brennan. Brennan working the near sideline against coverage from Ray Horton, who was over there.
That was a catchable ball. Hit him right between the 8 and 6. Ray Horton was really backed off.
Here's your defensive set for the Bengals. Crumry getting all-pro consideration from his coach Sam White, even though he doesn't get the media notoriety, along with Edwards and Scow up front. Linebacking core with King, Zander, Kelly, and Reggie Williams. Kelly having a fine year for the Bengals. And their defensive backs, Louis Breeden was scheduled to be a last-minute replacement for Horton, but we saw Horton on that last play. Second down now for the Browns, just underway in Cleveland. Hand off and right straight up the middle, favoring the left side of the line is Kevin Mack, and Mack turning out close to the 30-yard line before the inside linebacker Zander is there with the tackle.
This is what Cleveland want to stay away from. That's why the running game is so important. You don't want to put Kosar in situations now where he's got a 3rd down and 15. You know, Cincinnati's going to come with the pressure, and these are tough throws. These are where the sacks and possible interceptions come from.
Herman Fontenot has now checked into the Cleveland backfield. And the Bengals, who have intercepted 12 passes this year, will have the secondary alert right now. Breeden is playing on the left corner. Kosar with 3rd and long. Pressure from Edwards. Hurries the throw. Incomplete at the 42-yard line. Trying to make the catch was Clarence Weathers. Had a couple of defenders right there, including the free safety Robert Jackson.
Nobody got their hands on that ball. That was a catchable ball, and looked like Clarence Weathers should have made that catch, and it would have been very close to a 1st down.
Interesting week in Cleveland. The kicking game under heavy criticism the last couple of weeks, and Marty Schottenheimer coming up with big changes announced only yesterday. Thursday, Lee Johnson, the former Houston punter, who last week was actually on the inactive roster of the Buffalo Bills, is now on. He's a barefoot, left-footed punter, and here's his first kick in a Cleveland Browns uniform. And they'll be watching it closely as he gets it high, and a fair catch going to be called for. Doesn't get any kind of a bounce. It goes out of bounds at the 41-yard line. Mike Martin was back hoping for a return, didn't get it. Johnson coming in, replacing George Winslow, who had just a tough week last week. 8 punts, averaging only 32 yards. You can see 29 on the initial attempt by Johnson. High up there against the swirling winds in Cleveland Stadium, shaking his head in disgust as the Bengals with the football for the first time from their own 41, and Boomer Esiason goes to work. Brooks and Kennebrew are the setbacks. It's Brooks out across the line of scrimmage to about the 43-yard line. Brooks brought down by Bob Golick. Take a look now at the set for the Bengals. Esiason, Brooks, and Kennebrew in the backfield with McGee, Brown, and Rodney Holman, who caught 5 balls last week in the victory in overtime against Kansas City. You've got a tough line here. Max Montoya is back in the lineup starting today. He's had back problems, was just recently coming off the injured list. He was listed 3rd on the depth chart, but Sam White told us just before the ball game that he would go in place of Brian Blados at right guard. Second down. Kennebrew with no place to go still manages to get perhaps a yard. The big man at close to 260 pounds bullying straight ahead that time to about the 45.
We've got a confrontation on the sideline right now between the cornerbacks and James Brooks, 21, but Mike Johnson, number 59, blitzed, and he caught Kennebrew before he got a start.
Linebacking core including 2 Johnsons, Eddie and Mike. Clay Matthews, of course. Lucius Sanford back as a starter now. He's had some injury problems as well. And the defensive backs, Minifield and Dixon, you hear a lot about the dog defense, of course, and these are the men who love to play that tight man-to-man coverage. Stanford Jennings has now come into the backfield replacing Brooks. Jennings, number 36. Well, no, I'm sorry, Brooks is still there. Kennebrew is out. There's been a question about Brooks because he's trying to shake off numerous injuries as well. Esiason with time. Pass is completed on the far sideline to Brown, and Brown pulled down at about the 44-yard line in Cleveland territory by Minifield. Eddie Brown with his 36th reception of the year, picking up 10 quick yards and moving into Cleveland territory.
Chris Collingsworth, you know, is not playing today. As a matter of fact, he's dressed on the sideline. Take a look at Boomer right now. He's got good protection. He's looking in the middle. He comes off to Brown. Watch the way Brown comes back for the ball, makes a nice catch. That's a lot more difficult than it looks. And 31, Frank Minifield makes the final play. That was not as well thrown ball as I thought at the beginning. Excellent catch by Eddie Brown.
First down in Cleveland territory for Esiason and the Bengals. Holman, the tight end, moves over to the right side of this particular set. Brown in the slot to the left. Boomer right over the middle, completes the pass, and pulling it in was the tight end, Rodney Holman. Mike Johnson there with another tackle. The ball is going to be inside the 35 at the 34-yard line.
Rodney Holman is one of the most underrated tight ends in the league. Take a look now as he comes off. Now he's one-on-one with Mike Johnson, 59. Now Johnson has very good coverage. It's an excellent throw on the part of Boomer Esiason.
So after the first one was a little off target, Boomer right on that time at the 34-yard line, where it's second down now and they need less than a yard. Edwards gets the call. He gets the first down and gets close to the 30-yard line before Golick comes in to make the tackle.
Now, Cincinnati has not had a problem moving the ball from 20 to 20 all year long. They're now in the scoring territory, in position to score a touchdown or a field goal. Here's where they've had all their problems. They just haven't been able to get the ball in the end zone.
I mentioned before that this is the 35th time that these ball clubs have met now in this Battle of Ohio, and the series is dead even at 17 wins apiece. Earlier this year, it was during the strike, and the replacement team from Cleveland with many veterans easily handled Cincinnati. Kennebrew trying again and not finding any room to run. Mike Johnson spearheading the Cleveland defense, and the big running back that time unable to come up with anything. That earlier encounter that took place in Cincinnati saw the Browns win at 34-zip.
Watch Kennebrew right now. He's going to get hit initially by 57. That's Clay Matthews. There's the hit right there. 59, Mike Johnson. Now you got everybody but the kitchen sink in there. They knock Kennebrew back, gain less than a yard.
Cleveland's defensive unit leads the NFL in fewest points allowed this year. Also #1 in yards allowed, but with a 7-5 record. Chasing Esiason with pressure, completes the pass to Brooks. Got down to about the 26-yard line before he was thrown back by Felix Wright. Brooks and Wright now exchanging commentary on the near sideline.
Well, it's an aggressive defense, and they're going to go after people. You can obviously do it the right way. Now, he's coming on a bootleg. Esiason goes away from the fake. He's looking for 21, Brooks all the way, but Felix Wright, the free safety, has good coverage. They were in man coverage, and the free safety had the back coming out of the backfield. Excellent coverage on the part of Wright, because if Brooks catches a pass, he can add a lot of yardage.
Third down, a little over 5 needed. 8:54 to play, first quarter now. Stanford Jennings, Mike Martin in as extra receivers. Only one setback. It's Jennings behind Esiason. Here comes a 5-man rush. Time, completes the pass to Martin. Martin at the 5-yard line is pulled down, loses the football. It'll still be Cincinnati ball, however.
They got a lot of different threats. He had excellent protection, and he found Mike Martin as a crossing receiver. Take a look at the 10-minute ticker. Of course, the big game is Buffalo at Indianapolis.
New England, the only one of these teams to score thus far in the early going. Everybody else scoreless. Scoreless here in Cleveland, although Cincinnati is threatening right now with the ball just short of the 5-yard line.
They got a lot of tools, Gary, with Eddie Brown, James Brooks, and Kennebrew, and Holman, and Mike Martin is just another addition. Caught a pass in the middle and ran down to the 5-yard line.
Brooks and McGee split wide to the near side. Brown wide left. Play action fake. Boomer to the end zone. Overthrows Brooks. Brooks was open. Had the ball been there, it would have been an easy 6.
It was an excellent call on first down, because the defense figures you're going to take 3 shots at it on the run. It was a play action pass, and Boomer just rushed it. Brooks went right over the goal line in the middle, and he was wide open. He just threw the ball too high. That should have been a touchdown.
Brooks has caught 2 passes for scores this year. We mentioned that he's had injury problems, basically an ankle. Has missed virtually 3 full ball games this season. Came back and saw some limited duty in the victory against the Chiefs last week. On the ground, the big man, Kennebrew, gets down close to the 2-yard line, challenging the left side. Chris Rockins sweeping him off his feet. Rockins coming in there at 195 pounds against a man who outweighs him by about 65 pounds.
Now we have a 3rd down and 2. And I think what you're going to see is, I don't think they're going to give the ball to Kennebrew. If they did that on first down, they'd have 3 shots at it. I think we're going to come out now with a play-action pass with Boomer Esiason running. So he'd have the option to either run it in, put a lot of pressure on the defense, and lay the ball off, possibly to a tight end, either Holman or Caddis.
Martin split wide left. Brooks in the backfield with Kennebrew. Brooks in motion. There's the little rollout fake down to the right side. Esiason under pressure. Sidearms it, incomplete. He was trying to go inside with the sidearm pass to Eric Caddis, the tight end. Couldn't get it. Sam Clancy had the push up the middle, putting pressure on Esiason.
and they had the touchdown on the first down call. Take a look at Boomer right now. The problem is pressure. See, the pressure, he had a problem with the snap, but the pressure by Clancy, 91, causes him to throw an errant throw. As a matter of fact, he should have thrown that ball away and saved the field goal because he was not open. That could have been an interception on the goal line.
Leading scorer in the AFC, Jim Breach, on now for the field goal attempt.
Now, 82 Holman has to be in there as a wingman, but this hurts your kicker. This is probably why they're 4-8.
Had two of them blocked and run back for touchdowns the last couple of weeks. However, Breach gets this one right on through. The veteran Jimmy Breach, in his 9th year out of Cal, gets the first score of the ball game, and the Bengals break on top in this one by a score of 3-0. Going to be an interesting afternoon by the lake in Cleveland. Stick with us. Sam White on the far sidelines, the head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals. Boy, what an up and down year he has had to endure. Has seen, however, his ball club get the first score of the afternoon. Esiason hitting 4 of 6 for 45 yards passing, and then the Breach field goal of 20 yards, giving Cincinnati the first 3 points, and Breach ready to kick off once again. This one a little deeper kick going into the wind, going to be taken by Young at the 9-yard line. Got a good head of steam, pops into the pile, and now breaks to the outside and is pulled down at the 30-yard line. Glenn Young on the return from the 9 out to the 30 of 21 yards, and Cleveland will go to work now. 1st and 10. This telecast presented by authority of the National Football League. It is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Cleveland Browns and the National Football League is prohibited. This game the property of the National Football League, Cincinnati Bengals and Cleveland Browns. Kosar at quarterback. Has a lone setback behind him. It is Mack. Ozzie Newsome, the tight end, with some motion to the left side. Mack churning, breaking through a hole out across the 35 to about the 37-yard line. Good surge that time to the left side of the offensive line, led by Larry Williams and Paul Farron.
This is what they're looking for right now. This is what the running game does. It gives Bernie now a 2nd down and short or a 2nd down and medium, and his play selection takes a lot of pressure off him.
3-0 ball game midway through the first quarter in Cleveland, the event you've just joined us. The Browns at 7-5 against the 4-8 Bengals. Cleveland with the football. Kosar again going to Mack, and again straight ahead across the 40. A little hesitation, and then picking the hole nicely to the 43-yard line.
Well, good daylight running on the part of Kevin Mack. The hole was on the tight end side. Take a look at Mack right now. Hesitates. Now, this is a good back. He accelerates right through the hole and picks up the first down.
David Fulcher and Tim Crumry hanging on to make the tackle here, so we get a good look at Kevin Mack. His top game this year, 114 yards rushing against Houston. He's had 6 100-yard games in his career. Mack once again, the 3rd consecutive carry, and for the 3rd time, big yardage. Cross midfield to the 46-yard line.
And they're going to do it until they stop it. Cincinnati has been good against the run, but this is a big, strong back. What Cleveland is doing is going one-on-one blocking up front and letting Mack take his choice.
29 yards on those 4 carries, putting the ball at the 46-yard line.
Watch Kevin Mack gets a good lead block by 44 Biner, and then he cuts back and he's tackled after a 10-yard gain.
David Fulcher and Robert Jackson finally able to bring him down. Biner goes way out wide now to the left side. Mack with the football again, and just like you said, Coach, they're going to keep pounding away. Now the ball pops loose. I don't know if he was on the ground. The indication it's going to be Cincinnati's football. Robert Jackson, the man on the sidelines, walking off with the football. Timeout is going to be taken here now with 4:53 to play, and the first turnover of the ball game, negating a good solid ground drive on the part of the Cleveland Browns. We'll see if the Bengals can capitalize in a moment.
There's the handoff to Kevin Mack. Now he's searching, gets a good block by Ozzie Newsome, going back to the inside. Now let's take a look right now. It looks like Crumry and King, number 90. There's the ball. It's going to bounce out right in the middle of the screen. And Bobby Jackson, number 37, there it is. Bobby Jackson, the free safety, number 37, is going to come up with the recovery. Now, on the first drive, they had a penalty. Holding against Fike, which hurt the drive. Second drive, they're moving the ball very well on the ground, particularly with Kevin Mack, and they fumble in Cincinnati's territory.
After a review by replay, playing on the 10 is called a first down, Cincinnati.
Getting the indication here from the public address announcer now that after replay review, it will stand as rule. Dixon Holman is the replay official today, so they took a second look and decided that it would stand. So from the 44-yard line, Bengals leading 3-0, have the football once again. Here's Jennings now on the right corner, dragged down from behind by Eddie Johnson. Trying to sweep wide to the right, getting out close to midfield. Checking the ticker now. Buffalo gets first blood against Indianapolis in that big battle. In the East, we've got New England on top of the Jets. Still no score at Philly between Miami and the Eagles. Washington with the first touchdown of the day in the nation's capital against Dallas. New Orleans leading Houston. No score, Minnesota and Green Bay. 3-0 here. Sam White looks on, and the Bengals with the football at the 49-yard line, their own territory. Esiason against the four-man rush. Floats it out to Jennings, just into Cleveland territory at the 47-yard line, and Eddie Johnson in the middle to make that tackle once again.
That's what they're going to have to do with Esiason. They're going to have to put some pressure and get the pressure up in his face so that he can't see downfield. He's a very good athlete. They showed a lot of athleticism there, laying the ball off to Jennings. And Jennings is having a great year. You know, he came out of Furman University. He blocks well. He's an excellent runner and one of the better receiving backs coming out of the backfield for Cincinnati.
Sam White has referred to Stanford Jennings as Mr. Reliable. He says he's really the unsung hero of this ball club that's had such a emotional roller coaster ride this season. Lost 4 games by a total of 7 points.
Third down and less than a yard. They're calling a timeout, but there can't be any imagination here on who they're going to give the ball to. Give the ball to the big guy to get the first yard for you, the first down for you.
Boomer going over on the sidelines to talk it over with Sam White, so we'll pause for a moment as well. 3:27 to go, first quarter in Cleveland. 3rd and 1 coming up for the Bengals. Sam, I would imagine there'd be a little more emotion, not only on the football field, but here in the stadium with what's on the line for the Cleveland Browns in their final home game of the year.
Well, as far as the stadium is concerned, Cleveland has to do something for that to happen. But the penalty on the first drive and the fumble on the second drive has given the momentum at this point to Cincinnati. We got a key third down now, and they're going to give it to the big guy.
Kennebrew has the first down and a couple of extra yards to boot as he gets close to the 42-yard line. Just getting a little head of steam going that time, right up the middle.
You always want that big back to get that critical first down yardage for you. Even if the hole is not there, you give it to him and he makes his own hole. Take a look at Kennebrew right now. There's a good lead block. That was interesting.
That was
James Brooks blocking 91 Clancy, a defensive end.
Brooks at 182 pounds, Clancy at 260 pounds.
Reverse.
Down play, fake reverse. Brooks with a football. Browns had it diagnosed fairly well. Now a late penalty marker comes in. Brooks was dumped at the 40-yard line, and there was a late flag that came in there after Chris Rockins was in on the tackle.
It's against Cincinnati, probably holding.
Here's the initial indication from Bob Frederick, and we'll get his official announcement.
Take a look at it right now. You see, it's a run. They fake the reverse because maybe somebody on this side will bite on it, but they don't. As you see, Bob Golick running it down, and eventually number 99, Darrell Sims, makes the play.
Anthony Munoz was singled out for the penalty, and that's going to move the ball back to the midfield mark. Mr. All-Pro Munoz, not that often that he makes a mistake in the spotlight that he gets caught. Boy, he's been a great football player.
Right, that wasn't a holding penalty. On the reverse, he must have pushed someone in the back.
So first down, about 17 yards needed for the first down now as Esiason backpedals, sets up, takes a look out here. This one knocked away and almost intercepted. Good defensive coverage by Felix Wright as Stanford Jennings came out, and look at the reaction here from Esiason. He wanted the flag, but he didn't get it.
Well, we take a look at it right now. You'll see Boomer is looking for Jennings all the way, looking upfield now. He spots him. He doesn't get the ball out far enough, because watch now as Felix Wright reaches inside, you know, before the ball is caught, both the receiver and the defender, as long as the defender doesn't interfere, have the right to the football. It was an excellent play on the part of Felix Wright on Stanford Jennings.
Boomer Esiason, 4-year veteran, second down. You see the time remaining in the first quarter. Browns with 5 defensive backs. The left-hander rolling left, now firing over the middle. This one knocked away and almost intercepted by Eddie Johnson. Johnson popped it up in the air, made the dive, but couldn't come up with it.
That ball should have been caught. Boomer was rolling out to the left to get some protection. He tried to force the ball. Watch him right now. He's going to his left, so he gets some protection. There's nobody open. All you can see is a sea of white jerseys. He throws the ball, trying to go to Mike Martin, and Eddie Johnson, 51, sticks his thumb in it. Should have made the catch. And I'll tell you what, Boomer would have had to make the tackle.
So third down. Still close to 18 yards needed. Once again, the Browns with an ample supply of defensive backs anticipating the pass. Jennings, the lone setback behind Esiason. Here comes the 4-man rush. Against the pressure, completes it to Jennings at the 45, slides down at the 41-yard line. He'll be well short of the first down. Clay Matthews was there as Jennings lost his footing.
I'll tell you what the Browns are doing. They're not getting any sacks, but they're putting pressure on Boomer because he doesn't have the time to get the ball upfield to his outside receivers, and he's laying the ball off a lot to his backs.
Punting situation coming up now. Scott Fulhag, who was the punter on the replacement team, earned himself a job on the roster a few weeks ago. McNeil, who can be very exciting, standing back at the 9-yard line. Here's Fulhag's first punt of the day. Kind of a low line drive and a fair catch called at the 16-yard line. So no chance for the Cube to run that one back. We have 1 minute and 22 seconds left in this first quarter. Still a 3-0 ball game. The Bengals lead it. Gary Gerald along with Sam Rutigliano in Cleveland, where the Bengals lead the Browns 3-0, and we'll be updating, of course, other scores around the league at various times through the afternoon on the 10-minute ticker, keeping a close eye in particular on that Buffalo-Indianapolis game, where, as you saw earlier, Buffalo jumped out to the early advantage with a touchdown. It was a Jim Kelly pass of 12 yards to Ronnie Harmon.
Browns have to get something going right now. They look flat. They really don't look like they got a lot of enthusiasm. It's important for this drive now. Knock out a couple of first downs. Get around the 50-yard line.
They got into Cincinnati territory before, but the fumble by Mack gave the Bengals the ball, and they were unable to capitalize. Let's see what happens now as Kosar is ready for action. Fires on the far sideline, incomplete. He was trying to go to Ernest Biner out of the backfield. Ball a little bit long off his fingers. We're going to be going to New York now to update some of this other activity as we check in at NFL Live.
All right, Gary, and we check in at the Superdome in New Orleans. Eric Martin latches onto the Bobby Hebert pass, spins away from a potential tackler, and goes 54 yards for the touchdown. The Saints, trying to win their 7th in a row, lead 7-zip.
Kosar backpedaling and completing a pass to Ozzie Newsome, and that'll keep that streak alive. Now at 125 consecutive games as Cleveland tries to get some muscle into their offense. King and Zander with the tackle, and the crowd salutes the Wizard of Oz.
And he threw that ball through a pipe. He had great coverage by Zander and King. Take a look at Bernie right now. He's going to come off on Ozzie late at the bottom of your screen. Now watch the snap on that ball. Puts it right in there with 90 and 91, the 2 linebackers covering it very well. Excellent throw. Now you got a 3rd down and less than 2.
Quite a streak for the 10-year veteran, Ozzie Newsome. Browns with 3rd down, need a couple of yards. Some movement in the line, no penalty marker down, and on the ground straight ahead trying to get the first down is Kevin Mack. Tim Crumry, the nose tackle, is in there. And now we'll take a look at these scores. We mentioned Buffalo leading Indianapolis. Indianapolis leading the Eastern Division of the AFC, 7-5 coming into Buffalo's 6-6. So a very big ball game and a big early advantage to the Bills. New Orleans, as we just heard from Bob Costas, leading Houston. Minnesota now a touchdown on top of Green Bay. Counting down the final seconds, there you see time has expired here to end the first quarter at venerable old Cleveland Stadium before a sellout crowd of 80,000. We'll turn them around and come back with second quarter action in just a moment. Sam, you told us coming in we're going to throw back to the 50s in the running day game on a cold December day in Cleveland. We're seeing it, and the Browns have been effective, but they haven't scored yet.
Well, the offensive line is really coming off the ball. They're doing a good job knocking those defensive people at Cincinnati back, and Mack's running the ball well. Bernie just has to get in the groove, get in rhythm, hit a couple of key passes, just like he did with Ozzie Newsome, and then take a look at trying to find a guy deep like Slaughter.
Cleveland, the ball club, of course, they got close last year to the Super Bowl. They got to that championship game, but came up a little bit short, hoping that they could get back this year. And up until a couple of weeks ago, they were kind of cruising along. But then it's tough duty after the loss in San Francisco and the loss here last week to Indianapolis. The numbers, and you see the yards rushing for the Bengals, total 82 total yards, 43 yards total for the Browns, and 35 of the 43 have come on the ground. They got the first down in that play just before the end of the quarter. Cleveland with the football, and Kosar looking to pass. Floats it out here on the right side. Mack gets a block across the 40 to the 44-yard line. Carl Zander with the tackle. Kevin Mack just lumbering along out there for a 16-yard pickup.
What happens is you got your receivers going upfield. Bernie lays the ball off to Kevin Mack. Take a look at it right now. Bernie is looking upfield. Mack is going out to his right. Stop, stop. Now watch as one guy misses. One guy misses right there. Number 90, King, misses, and as a result, this guy breaks tackles and makes yardage upfield because he forces people to miss.
Just underway, second quarter in Cleveland. Browns yet to score. Bengals with a field goal from breach of 20 yards. Newsome in motion. Kosar swings it to the left side to Mack this time, and he's hit hard at the line of scrimmage. And David Fulcher, boy, he's one of the biggest defensive backs in the NFL, and when he hits you, you know it.
That's why they call him Rock. But they had a defensive lineman, Jim Scow, number 70, coming out to cover Mack.
Fulcher is 6'3", listed at 228 pounds. Don't find many defensive backs that even come close to those kind of numbers. And he kept that to a 1-yard gain.
He's a linebacker playing strong safety.
Second down and 9 for Kosar. On count, here comes the blitz. They pick it up. He completes the pass on the far sideline. Shaking off a man is Langhorne down to the 30-yard line. That brings the crowd to life as Reggie Langhorne shook off a tackler and ends up with a 25-yard pickup.
That's the big play that they need. Lewis Breeden, number 34, has got to take that 5-yard pass. He can't knock it down as we look at Kosar right now. He completes a 5-yard pass. Now the defensive back, Breeden, number 34, make the tackle. See, he doesn't wrap his arms. Langhorne comes off, and watch him add now. 8, 10, another 12 to 15 yards as a result of a missed tackle.
Reggie Langhorne was unhappy last week, said he wasn't getting the football enough. Well, he makes a big play on his first reception here today. Kosar comes back on the ground, and Mack pops through the hole on the left side of the 25-yard line, but a penalty marker is down on the far side of the field.
Looked like a wide receiver must have been offside on the part of Cleveland, but no, it's against Cincinnati.
Frederick with the indication that it'll work against the Bengals. The ball is at the 25-yard line, so they may decline the penalty. Looked like just about a 5-yard pickup on that play.
Well, they'll take the penalty, then make it first and 5.
First down. Options being discussed. Here's the announcement from Frederick.
Encroachment on the defense on the right end. And first down will be repeated.
That would be Jim Scow in that particular spot, who is encroaching that zone. Only a minute and a half gone in the second quarter. Sam White's far sidelines watching his defensive unit dig in now against Kosar and the Browns, who have their first legitimate scoring drive of the day underway. At least a potential scoring drive. Biner is way out wide to the left as Newsome starts the motion to the right. Mack trying to work the center once again, gets a couple of very tough yards, but that's about all from Ryan Zander there for the tackle.
Take a look at it right now. The play is on the right side. What Mack is doing so well, he's got good vision and good awareness, and he's cutting the ball back. Ozzie's going in motion, 82. Now watch Mack get the ball deep. Now see, there's no hole. Now he bounces back, but there's somebody right there. 57, Reggie Williams, and 91, Carl Zander.
Ball at the 22-yard line. Second down. You need 2 for the first down. The penalty gave them the initial 5 in this particular series. Completing the pass to Slaughter. Touchdown, Cleveland. Webster Slaughter, 22 yards on the touchdown. His 5th touchdown reception of the year. He's caught a ball now in 26 consecutive games as a pro, and a big one here against the Bengals to give Cleveland the lead.
24. Lewis Phillips, let him get to the inside, and linebackers and safeties are not going to catch that guy. They should not allow him to enter inside. Once he caught the ball, he was in the end zone.
Here's Matt Barr, who came off the physically unable to perform list just yesterday. He boots it through the uprights, and the Cleveland fans, the sellout crowd, enjoying the first Cleveland scoring activity of the afternoon as the Browns lead it now 7-3. 22-yard touchdown pass. Kosar to Slaughter. The Browns have the lead. Newly acquired Lee Johnson, who punts barefooted but kicks off with the shoe. Now ready to do his number. McGee, Bussey, and Billups in the deep spots for the Bengals, standing at the 5- and 10-yard line. Driving this one straight down the field. Pretty good distance back to the 3-yard line for Bussey out of the corner to handle. Gets up to the 19-yard line, and now the crowd starting to come to life in Cleveland after that touchdown and a good kickoff by Johnson. 12:35 to play in the first half. Anthony Griggs on the special teams was there to make that tackle for the Cleveland Browns. Ball will actually be nosed right out to the 20-yard line, just the same as the touchback, as Cincinnati now will go to work once again. Joe Walter, Max Montoya, the right side of the line, Remington in the middle, Reimers and Munoz on the left to protect Boomer Esiason. And off to the big man, Kennebrew, powering straight ahead. Penalty marker is down. Waiting to see who the penalty will work against.
Against Cincinnati, looks like holding.
There's your call, or the indication.
The problem with this now, you're on the 20-yard line. You're in your backyard. A penalty brings the ball back to the 10, and what it does now is reduce your options in your offense.
Offensive holding in the center on the offense.
So the penalty moves the ball back to the 10-yard line.
What you don't want to do now is have to punt from your end zone.
5 defensive backs on the field now for the Browns. Buffalo has extended the lead, and New England making life tough for the Jets, updating all the scores now. Minnesota and Green Bay are even as the Packers have come back to tie. 7-3 ball game here in Cleveland with the Browns leading for the first time. Brooks sweeping wide to the left, trying to get the block to turn the corner, able to get out only to about the 17 or 18-yard line before he's muscled down by Felix Wright.
But it was a good choice. He picked up about 8 or 9 yards, get half of it, rather than try to take a chance on a deep throw back on your own 10-yard line where you're going to get a lot more pressure.
Brooks, a Pro Bowler last year. We mentioned the ankle problems that had cost him playing time in the last 3 games. Caught a 23-yard touchdown pass in that overtime win last weekend against Kansas City.
The guy they want to go to is Rodney Holman, number 82 on Cincinnati. He's being covered by a linebacker, Clay Matthews, number 57.
Eddie Brown comes wide to the right side for the Bengals now. The pitch out to Brooks, who sweeps to that side. He's in trouble down back at the 15-yard line. Once again, Eddie Johnson, and how many times have we called that name already this afternoon? He's having a terrific first half defensively for Cleveland.
But it was a good job by Ray Ellis, the strong safety. They tried to pitch to the right, same play they ran to the left, but the strong safety, Ray Ellis, held it up, and then your inside linebacker, Eddie Johnson, 51, made the play.
10:50 to go, first half. Crowd starting to roar now for the defensive unit. Things are warming up in Cleveland on a blustery December afternoon.
Browns are a lot more enthusiastic right now. Got a lot more life, both offensively and defensively.
You can see it with that defensive unit in the pursuit and in the hits. Here's a 4-man rush on Esiason. The pocket collapses, and Boomer is down at the 4-yard line. Clay Matthews leading the charge. Eddie Johnson was in there. Also Carl Hairston. They all came surging, and Esiason had to eat the football.
Watch Boomer right now. He's looking downfield. He's trying to get the ball to Holman. He's holding the ball. Pazzulli breaks through 72 first, and then Clay Matthews 57, and 78 Carl Hairston finishes him off. But the big problem is now your punter is punting from the end line, and they're going to get a good return.
Ed Brady will handle the snap. Scott Fulhag, who had only 25-yarder on his first attempt. Here comes the pressure. He gets the kickoff, but it's another short one. Going only to the 35-yard line, where it's pulled in by McNeil, and McNeil is down at the 30 or 31. So a short kick, and Cleveland now with an excellent opportunity to try to stretch a lead that at the moment stands at 7-3. We have 10 minutes and 1 second to play here in this first half at Cleveland. Well, the solitude of the sideline for the punter, Scott Fulhag, only 29 yards and a 5-yard return. Great field position for the Browns, and coach, that penalty figured big once again.
Right, they had to trade field position. Now they give the ball to Cleveland on the 30-yard line.
Cleveland leading it 7-3, 10:01 to play first half. Browns in Cincinnati territory. Biner goes out wide to the right side. Langhorne is also out to the right. Slaughter is to the left. Newsome now in motion. Kosar to the sideline, completing the pass. Ozzie Newsome bumped out of bounds at the 22-yard line. Emmanuel King bumping him out of bounds as the Oz picks up his second ball of the afternoon.
See, that's what Kosar does so well. He's got him wide open with receivers all over the field, sends them upfield. Ozzie's been going back and forth in motion. Take a look at Kosar. He sets upfield, excellent protection. Cody does a good job on Eddie Edwards, and there's Ozzie wide open. You see, that's what a good quarterback does. Take what the defense gives you. Don't force the ball.
And Kosar has shown a penchant for being able to pick up the defenses, to make those little adjustments at the very young age, and only his third season, now just 24. Straight ahead, Mack, and again the big hole. Look out! Touchdown! Kevin Mack goes 22 yards for his 5th rushing touchdown of the season. And boy, once he popped by the line of scrimmage, there wasn't very much doubt, if any.
You could see those defensive backs didn't want to have any part of him when he put it in second gear. See, the offense is spread all over the field, and if Mack gets one crack and he's in the secondary, he's unusual, because for a big man, he's got tremendous speed and acceleration, which he showed on that touchdown run.
Matt Barr on for the conversion attempt. The Browns have struck quickly. And this one just slides through the right upright. It is good. So Barr 2 for 2 as he's come back after being activated here this week. And it's now a 14-3 Cleveland lead. 2 plays, 30 yards, using just 13 seconds. Here's the capper.
And he goes right through, and of course Billups is just riding his back right now. And it's a touchdown, 14-3 Cleveland.
On the sideline, bundled up against the cold, talking with offensive lineman or line coach Howard Mudd, and that line has really done a number, haven't they, Sam?
And if I were Kevin Mack, the guy I would talk to every day is the gentleman with the headset. That's Howard Mudd, the offensive line coach, because it's his 5 hogs that open up the holes.
Johnson's kick, it's long, it's deep, it's about 5 yards into the end zone, and no chance for a run back. And the Browns salute Lee Johnson for his fine kickoff. And look at Johnson coming off here. He's pumped up a little bit now, too. So the emotion that wasn't there in the first 10 minutes of the ball game is now back in Cleveland. Look at this. New England now 21-3 on the Jets as the Patriots try to stay alive. Buffalo adding a field goal for a 10-point advantage over Indianapolis. Philadelphia with the first touchdown against Miami. No other changes here. Washington still on top. New Orleans leading Houston. Minnesota and Green Bay are tied. Here in Cleveland, along the cold shores of Lake Erie, it's a 14-3 Browns advantage over Cincinnati. The 35th renewal of this rivalry between the Browns and the Bengals. Esiason pressured, gets the pass away, and We'll see if it's going to be an incomplete or an in the grasp. I think it's going to be ruled incomplete.
Incomplete. His arm was moving forward, but had good pressure from Darrell Sims, number 99, and 91 Clancy. Take a look as he sets to throw. Here comes Golick, 79, but the pressure's coming from the outside. 91 comes in from behind Sam Clancy and causes the errant throw to 28 Kinnebrew.
Reminder to our viewers that we'll be selecting the Budweiser Most Valuable Player for today's game at the conclusion of this contest. Cincinnati had some offensive spark early in the game. They got the 20-yard field goal from Breach, but they've had a tough time moving the ball since. Here's Brooks now trying to work the left side. Clancy with penetration slows him down, and he slows him down enough that Felix Wright can come in and seal off the tackle. Clancy with excellent pursuit as Brown tried to turn that corner, and Wright was able to muscle him down.
Well, that's a big play for defensive end because the safeties are supposed to make those plays. We got a flag down, and it's against Cincinnati again. Take a look at the sweep right now. James Brooks, 21, is looking for the first block. He's got it right there, but Clancy, 91, comes off his block, and for a big guy to make that kind of a play. Now, he didn't make the tackle. Felix Wright made the tackle, but Clancy caused the tackle.
Officials conferring over there where that hit was made. You also on that replay could see why this turf is so bad and why it's tough to maintain your footing. You could see them turning up. It's loose in places. They had to reside, of course, as they always do early in the season from the baseball field, but they've had concerts here at the other end of the field, and there are places where it is kind of tough to get your footing.
Unsportsmanlike conduct, number 75 on the offensive team.
Well, that call goes against left guard Bruce Reimers of the Cincinnati Bengals. Don't know what the problem was, but once again, a penalty has put them way back now. And remember what happened last time when Fulhag had to punt from deep in his own end zone.
This is going to be a tough throw because Cleveland's really going to be coming. There's the hit right there. Felix Wright, 22, makes the play. We don't see 75, Bruce Reimers, but that was a dumb penalty because it put Cincinnati back in a hole, and Boomer's got to make a very tough third down throw.
Boomer, after completing his first 4, is just 2 out of 7 since that time, scrambling for his life, fires, no chance for a completion out of the 25-yard line. Once again, the turf being torn up, and way one of the defenders reacted down there. I thought for a moment there had been a penalty marker. That was not the case. It was Mark Harper who was over there. Boomer shaking his head in frustration as he retreats to the sidelines, and once again Scott Fulhag is going to have to kick that football out of the end zone. McNeil is standing in Cincinnati territory, anticipating the punt at the 45. It's not been a good day for Fulhag thus far. Comes in, however, averaging better than 40 yards. This one's high, not particularly long. At the 46, McNeil thrown back to the 50-yard line. He's hit by Robert Jackson, who was quickly down under that high punt that time from Fulhag.
The thing that helped, it wasn't a deep kick, but it hung about 4.5 seconds, which gave Cincinnati an opportunity to cover it, and the field position is a lot better than it could have been. It's at about the 47-yard line of Cincinnati.
34 yards in that punt. Remind you, battle of the outrageous. Bosworth and the Hawks go head-to-head with McMahon and the Bears. That's coming up next week. Most of you will then see the Dogs at Cleveland nipping against Bo Jackson and the Raiders, plus a lot of regional action. Doubleheader Sunday, next Sunday, beginning with NFL Live at 12:30 Eastern Time. Cleveland with the football at the 47-yard line in Cincinnati territory. Kosar trying to capitalize while he's hot. Completes another one. Ball knocked away. It's going to be ruled, I believe, incomplete. Langhorne stretching out against coverage from Horton. Didn't have control on the possession when he came down. The ball squirted out, so they'll go back to the initial line of scrimmage.
Never had control. Bernie saw it all the way, hit Langhorne, number 88, right between the 8 and 8. And what he didn't do is when he caught the ball is to bring it in, because the impact on the ground, it burped out.
You joined us late. Breach got the Bengals on top with a 20-yard field goal. They led it by a score of 3-0. Then 22-yard touchdown pass Kosar to Slaughter. 22-yard touchdown run by Kevin Mack, giving the Browns the advantage at 14-3. Big rush against Kosar. Ball batted down. Nobody able to come up with it that time. The pressure was coming, and for the first time today, Bernie had one batted back in his face. Kosar now 6 for 11, 80 yards, including that one touchdown.
Take a look at Kosar right now. There's a lot of pressure right in his face, and we can't see it. It looked like a 73. No, it was number 94 for the Bengals, but 93 couldn't get his number clear, but he was up real high, and that sidearm delivery caused the knockdown.
So it'll be 3rd down and 10 for the Browns. Bengals showing everybody right up there on that line of scrimmage right now. Now Thomas drops off. He's showing him the blitz.
He's going to go deep. He's going to try to go deep to one of his receivers.
Now they drop 3 men back very quickly. Kosar with time. Completes it to Slaughter at the 30-yard line. Jackson was there. Billups was over there. Thomas was over there, but he still pulled it in. Slaughter picks up 18 yards.
Big play because, you know, Cincinnati would have gotten the ball. Then they had him double covered, but it was an excellent throw, and Slaughter came back for the football.
So they get the 1st down, and we'll take another look now at the coverage here on Webster Slaughter.
Take a look at Slaughter right now. He's being covered by Billups, number 24. Now watch, come back, come back, come back. Just the fact that he came off the defensive back 24 and came back was the difference between the reception.
8 minutes, 5 seconds to go, first half. Cleveland on the move, leading 14-3 against Cincinnati. Kosar has Newsom in motion to the right side. Mack on the ground, up the middle. This time gets only a couple of yards. Last time he carried, it was 22 yards for a touchdown, and Reggie Williams comes up with the tackle. Indianapolis has scored now. They have a field goal against Buffalo, but the Bills still on top in that very big game in the Hoosier Dome. New England breezing against the Jets with 3 scores already today. Miami and Philly are even. New Orleans has gotten another touchdown pass from Hebert to Martin to lead that one now 14-0. And Houston desperately in need of a win coming in. Houston with a 7-5 record, tied with Cleveland and Pittsburgh in the AFC Central. Right now, Houston is hurting, down 2 TDs. Kosar looking deep. No opportunity this time for Langhorne. Little bumping contest going on with Louis Breeden down there. No penalty markers down.
The big difference, it was close contact, but Breeden, number 34, the KG veteran, was running alongside Langhorne, and he kept looking back also. As long as the defensive back looks back at the quarterback, just like the receiver, they'll never call it.
So it'll be 3rd down and 7 as we look from the end zone here.
Number 84, that's the guy he likes to go to in this situation.
It's Webster Slaughter. We saw him just a few moments ago pick up a big 1st down play on 3rd down. Slaughter and Brian Brennan are both wide to the left. Weathers, the other side, inside handoff. Biner for the first time today spins, breaks away down to the 10-yard line. Eric Thomas finally tripped him up. Got him by the ankle. 17 yards on the pickup, and that's the first carry for Biner.
And they had him stopped. They would have had to attempt a long field goal, but, you know, the thing that Biner does well, take a look at him right now. It's a draw play. He's stopped right here. He's stopped. That's Crumry, 69. Look at the balance as he gets up. Now he avoids number 53, gets a good block on Bobby Jackson, and almost breaks it all the way for a touchdown if Billups, 24, doesn't make the tackle.
Well, that's a spectacular effort by Ernest Biner to put the ball at the 10-yard line. Biner gets the number again, down to about the 7, possibly the 6 off the left side with a slant.
Brown's offensive line have got to be doing a great job. Well, they're knocking them off the line of scrimmage. And Biner and Mack, as we said at the top of the show, take that running game out of mothballs because these are 2 very strong backs that cause people to miss. And right now it's given Kosar a lot of control of the game.
Biner had a tough fumble last week inside the 10-yard line that cost the Browns a scoring opportunity and possibly a chance to win that game against Indianapolis. And he's been wrestling with that all week. This time it's Kevin Mack picking the hole inside the 5, churning down to close to the 2-yard line. They're not only getting the surge, but it seems to me, Coach, that those backs are doing an excellent job of keeping the head up where they can pick that hole and read the block and then make the best of it.
Take a look at Mack right now. Gets a good block by Biner. He's going up inside now. Watch his legs move, never stop. Almost goes in for a touchdown.
Carl Zander and David Fulcher finally were able to bang him down, but the ball at the 2-yard line now with 3rd and about a 1.5 needed. They could get a first down without a touchdown.
This is an interesting call right now. They're probably going to go to Mack, but they could run a play-action pass.
Mack and Biner still in the backfield. Kosar flips it out all by himself. Mack for an easy touchdown.
There it is.
You called that one, Sam. It was right there, and he was just wide open. They don't come much easier. Barney Bussey was out there in that corner, but he had no shot at all at Kevin Mack. It was just a question of whether or not he'd hang on to the football.
Well, it's the fake. Everybody goes for the fake on Barner 44, and Mack is wide open. There's no coverage on him. 27 Bussey really took a bite on the fake, and Mack was wide open. It was a great call on the part of Lindy Infante. It took a little audacity, but that's what you have to have down there. And of course, Mack is a good enough athlete, and now they're up 21-3, and this game is looming bigger and bigger and getting out of Cincinnati's hands.
Another conversion attempt good by Matt Barr. And so after surrendering 3 points and struggling offensively early in this one, the Browns have come back and opened up the big lead now at 21-3. You see the time remaining at 4:49 in this first half. So they've had touchdown passes now from Kosar to Slaughter of 22 yards. The 22-yard rush by Mack for the score, and now Kosar to Mack for 2 yards.
Watch the fake to Biner, and Mack is right there. Nobody's there. Bussey, 27, as I said earlier, bit on the fake. The action was very good. Everybody felt they were going to give the ball to Biner, and then as a result, Mack was wide open, and Bernie Kosar found him for a 21-3 lead.
For Bernie Kosar now, that is his 17th touchdown pass, and you see the rushing yardage for Kevin Mack. That's a pretty good first half number when you've got 67 yards put up there already.
It's good distribution too, because Ernest Biner has run very well in the first half. Cincinnati spotted them. I mean, Cleveland spotted them 3 points, 21-3. Cincinnati's got to get this drive going and get something on the board before the half.
Homer Esiason on that sideline talking with Sam White, getting a plan sorted out. We've got the Browns ready to kick off. McGee, Bussey, and Billups all in the deep spots awaiting the boot. Johnson's hammered the last couple. This one's going to go to the 4-yard line. Bussey bringing it up across the 20, and that's about it. Possibly to the 21 or so before he was dragged down. Glenn Young was quickly down the field on the 17-yard return. Young, man who used to sell vacuum cleaners door to door after he lost his spot in this National Football League team a couple of years back, has come back and has been a good special teams player this season.
Cincinnati, the last 2 possessions, put themselves in a hole by penalties. As a result, Cleveland got good field position both times and went in and got 14 points.
That's right. They only needed 30 yards. 2 series back. This last one was 53 yards before they got the score. 21-3. Cleveland on top now as Esiason goes to work. Got to play catch-up football. Over the middle, completes the pass to McGee to the 43-yard line. Esiason and the Bengals, of course, have got a lot of weapons. Early in the game, he'd already hit 5 different receivers. This is a 22-yard pickup to Tim McGee.
This is an explosive team. Tim McGee's the #1 draft choice. Eddie Brown is the #1 draft choice. They got James Brooks. They got Kinnebrew. They've got Holman. They've been operating in a hole for this during the course of this quarter, but they need to get a drive down here now, not kick a field goal, get a touchdown so they can get back in this game before the half, and it'll be 21-10 instead of 21-3.
Bengals on the negative side do not have the services of the veteran All-Pro Chris Collinsworth, who sprained an ankle last week, tried desperately to get it ready to play today, but was unable to do so. He's on the sidelines watching. Kinnebrew, the big back, breaks away out to the side and still on his feet. Penalty marker down as he crossed midfield on the near sideline. Minifield finally dragging him down, and that time the big guy lowered his head and rolled through a couple of people.
Gary, he ran right over 37 Chris Rockins. Rockins got up and wanted to find out what the license number of that truck was.
I think somebody got a hold of a face mask. Yeah, that's the indication here against the Browns. So they'll tack on a couple of more yards.
There's the hit right there. He bounces right off 59, Mike Johnson. Take a look right now. There's
number 31 of the defense.
31, Frank Minifield. Incidental is 5-yard penalty.
That's going to move the ball, however, to the 39-yard line in Cleveland territory. So very quickly, the Bengals have used up some real estate here now and are on the move. Clock becoming a factor in this half with 3:42 to go. Important for the Bengals to sustain a drive here and to get some points to show for it.
I'm surprised they're not going more to 82, their tight end.
This is Brooks, tripped up, gets only a yard or two off the left side. Rockins there to upend him. Checking these scores, the Jets have added a field goal against New England, and Philadelphia now with a field goal to take a 3-point lead over Miami. Washington with a field goal, extending to 7 now over Dallas. No change. New Orleans still on top of Houston, and no change with Minnesota and Green Bay.
Because Pittsburgh's got the 4 o'clock game against San Diego. If they lose today and the Browns win, Houston loses, the Browns are back in first place.
With 2 to go, both on the road. Pressure for Esiason, shakes it off, throws it away out here on the sideline.
They came with 37 Chris Rockins and Clay Matthews. You don't have to sack the quarterback. If you can put pressure on him, he's not going to be able to see the field as well, and he's not going to get to his receivers. And in that case right there, he threw the ball too short.
So 3rd down, 9 yards needed to keep this drive alive for the Bengals. 3:01 to play in the first half. Cincinnati trailing 21-3. Al Baker now in as a down lineman for the Browns.
This is a big 3rd down throw. Look for them to go to 82. Rodney Holman, their tight end.
Holman is split about 5 yards wide on the right side. Brooks in motion to the left. Esiason looking back to the right, fires out of the backfield. Jennings still on his feet. Down to the 25, still on his feet inside the 20 to about the 15, where he was knocked out of bounds. Good effort by Jennings.
Felix Wright, 22, had the thing tackled, and they would have had to line up for a field goal.
23 yards on the pickup as we look again.
Watch Esiason now. He's looking for 36 all the way. Now watch 36 right now as he goes upfield. See, Wright went to his feet. He should have stayed on his feet, wrapped his arms, and looked for help. Don't ever try to make an open field tackle like that, particularly when you can tackle him and he's got to line up to kick a field goal. He should have waited for some help and stayed on his feet.
As you can see, the 3rd catch of the day for Jennings came up with the 1st down. The ball just inside the 15-yard line. Excellent sideline effort that time by Jennings. 2:51 to go now, and Bengals are going to take their 2nd timeout of the first half. Boomer walking away from the huddle to go over and confer with Sam White.
And the reason for that is Dave Adolph, the defensive coordinator of the Cleveland Browns, uses a lot of different fronts. They go to the 46 bad defense. They go to a front where they use 4 defensive linemen and 4 linebackers. Sometimes they're in a conventional 3-4, as we look at Dave Adolph with the headset right now. Sometimes they're in a conventional 3-4. And what Boomer didn't want to do right there is to come up on 1st down and not be sure of the call, because it's very important right now. They've got 4 shots to throw it in the end zone to get a touchdown, because a field goal is not going to help them. They've got to get on the board and make it 21-10.
That is the 2nd timeout used by the Bengals. Of course, you're allotted 3.5. You see the time remaining, and of course we'll have the 2-minute warning, which will also stop the clock here. Cincinnati with a victory last week in overtime against Kansas City. Prior to that, they'd suffered back-to-back losses against the Jets. That was a game where they were going on down to kick what they thought would be the winning field goal, and it ended up being blocked and run back for a touchdown. And they have just had such a tough season.
Well, this is very difficult now, Gary. They're on a 15-yard line. Remember, the defense only has 10 yards behind the goal line. You never want to defend the end zone. You want to defend the goal line. So really, Esiason only has 15 vertical yards to work in. So all his throws down here are very tough. He's got to be careful because he's got to wait. And when you wait, you can get a sack. So right now, he's got to be careful not to take a sack. And above all, don't throw an interception. Keep the ball outside. Don't throw it in the middle of the field.
You mentioned the interceptions. Cleveland all last year had 18 total, and they came within a game of the Super Bowl. This year, the defensive secondary has intercepted 19 passes already coming into this one today. Bengals ready to go to work. Esiason flares it out left side to Brooks, being chased by Hairston. That slows him down long enough that he gets only to the line of scrimmage. He had to alter his line after he received the pass from Esiason.
Carl Hairston may be the oldest defensive lineman in the American Football Conference, but he's not the slowest. He came right off. Take a look right now. It's essentially a lateral. He just drops the ball up, throws it behind the line of scrimmage. If he dropped it, it was a lateral. Watch Hairston, 78 hustle. Big Daddy's out there. Now, he doesn't make the tackle, but he causes the tackle. He stopped Brooks from being able to get turned upfield. And if Brooks gets turned upfield, there's Big Daddy right there.
He's going to be 35 years old Tuesday.
A young 35.
A young 35 in his 12th year. 6.5 sacks this season for the Browns. Second down, Cincinnati. I hear whistles. Yeah, they're going to stop this one as it unfolds. Brooks was the ball carrier, but the whistles will negate the play.
I really don't like that call. I think down here right now.
Whistle blown for the 2-minute warning prior to the snap. So that down will have to be replayed, and we are at 2-minute warning time.
Now, Garrett, they've got a second down, but they can get a first down inside the 5-yard line.
Last year, Sam White and the Bengals were 10-6. This year, they've struggled. They're 4-8. They've had all those close, tough losses. They're looking right now into the teeth of the Cleveland secondary that's being encouraged by the bleacher dogs. Caddis in motion. Esiason looking back to the near side, completes it to Holman. Holman tight-roping the sidelines, gets down to about the 5-yard line before he's knocked down. Minifield coming over. And Holman, as they had the direction going left, he threw back to the right side of the tight end.
Well, they had everybody going upfield. Holman was not the #1 guy. He just laid the ball off to him. Take a look right now. He wants to go upfield, then he just lays the ball off to Holman. Key right now, get as much yardage as you can, but get out of bounds because they only have 1 timeout left. But they can get a first down. They got 3rd down and a long 3 yards. They can get a first down.
Saw his foot go out of bounds at the 7-yard line. Minute 55 to go, first half.
I bet they don't kick the field goal if they don't make this 3rd down play.
Down 21-3. Esiason looking to throw near side again. Intercepted, and look out! Clay Matthews with the football. He wants to lateral it. Big Daddy Hairston lumbering on the near sidelines. Is he going to go? He breaks the tackle and is bumped down. Matthews picked it at the goal line. He got about 30 yards or so on the return, gave it to Hairston, and Hairston lumbered, literally, down the near sideline, deep into Cincinnati territory, and what a big turnaround that could be.
And the throw is late. Watch Boomer right now. See, he threw the ball too late. Clay comes right inside and makes the play. Now watch Clay. He's going to run out of gas. Close to the 50-yard line. Watch Clay now. Poop, he goes right inside. The ball was too late. Now watch Matthews as he runs upfield. Now eventually he's going to run out of gas. He sees 78, his favorite partner, gets the ball to Hairston now. Now watch Hairston smoke it right now. He almost goes all the way. If he gets a block by 29 hand for Dixon, that would have been a touchdown. Now Cleveland's got the ball on a 20-yard line, but it could be a 14-play turnaround. Cincinnati had an opportunity to get back in the game, and now they may be very well out of the game.
Well, we talked about Hairston, the young 35 to be, on Tuesday, showing us his open field stuff that time to the 20-yard line after the interception was pulled in by Clay Matthews. His 3rd interception of the year for Matthews. There's Hairston. They have to get him oxygen over there on the near sideline.
He's renegotiating his contract on the sideline right now.
And Boomer Esiason having a tough first afternoon. Matthews went 36 yards. Hairston tacked on 40 more. And the ball is at the 20 with a minute 34 to go. And as Sam Batigliano pointed out, this could be a 14-point swing because the Bengals were right at the goal line threatening, and they needed it badly. Now the defense has 20 yards to protect.
See, Clay Matthews had Holman, as we talked about, man-to-man coverage. And he would have been fine, Boomer. But when you're going to throw a pass like that diagonally to the sideline, you can't be late.
So the Browns go to work now from the 20. The crowd really roaring its support after the spectacular interception and the lateral to Hairston, who probably has never run that far in his life. Newsome in motion. Play action fake. Kosar down the middle. Nice stretch at the 3-yard line as Langhorne pulls it in. Reggie stretched out in traffic at the 3. Louis Breeden on the tackle, and the Browns are knocking at the door again.
Great throw by Kosar. and that's the same pass that Langhorne dropped a few minutes ago. Take a look at Bernie right now. Fakes to 34 Mack, but watch the throw right in there. It's a good diving catch, but a tremendous throw. Had Breeden, number 34, beat all the way.
Ball at the 3-yard line, 16-yard pickup. Herman Fontenot has now come into the game for Cleveland and will be in the slot on the right side as a potential receiver. Biner and Mack still in the backfield. Kosar, again the play action fake, firing. Penalty marker down. The ball was caught. Making the catch was Derek Tennell, a tight end, but there is a penalty marker down.
And Bernie was a little late because Tennell came open right away, and the penalties against Cincinnati.
Tennell with 7 catches, 1 touchdown this season, waiting to find out if this will be number 2. Marty Schottenheimer wants to know, is it or isn't it?
Number 53 in the defense. Penalty will be refused.
That's
Play
the
result of
touchdown right there by Tennell. They had 2 men in one area, Biner 44 and Tennell 81, and it was a breakdown in coverage on the part of Cincinnati. Now that turnaround is 28-3 instead of the possibility of it being 21-10.
I believe that the number that Bob Frederick called, and over the noise it was difficult to tell, but I believe he called number 53 Leo Barker, who was guilty on the infraction. At any rate, the touchdown stands. Tennell picks up the score, and now the conversion attempt from Barr is good. And Cleveland has exploded here in this first half. After trailing 3-0, they now lead it by a score of 28-3. 2 plays, 20 yards, using less than a minute. And Kosar has been the architect, but of course the defensive secondary set it up on the spectacular interception by Clay Matthews, the lateral to Carl Hairston. They moved the ball all the way to the 20 and then quickly capitalized in just 2 plays.
Tennell likes Cincinnati because he caught one in the replacement game when Cleveland beat them 34-0, and he caught another one right here. But the thing you have to emphasize here, the offense is playing well, but the defense has had them in a hole twice. The offense got 2 touchdowns as a result of that, and Clay Matthews right there, who made a great interception right on the goal line, and then an outstanding lateral to Carl Hairston, the defensive end, and as a result of that interception, the Browns scored a touchdown, and they're up 28-3.
Hairston still talking about, did you see me? Did you see me on the sideline? Was I great? Did I do the job, huh?
Nobody's talking about the wonderful catch that Hairston made from the lateral by Clay Matthews.
NFL Live, of course, at halftime. Bob Costas, Ahmad Rashad, Paul McGuire, they'll all update you on all the activity. Boy, these games taking on great significance coming down the stretch. There's another fine kick down to the 1-yard line. Barney Bussey to bring it out for the Bengals. Bengals have got to be dispirited right now as they had a great opportunity challenging almost at the Cleveland goal line, and it turns out surrendering another 7 points to trail with 41 seconds to go.
You know, Gary, what was impressive about the interception was all the defensive players.
On the play, the flag will be picked up, and it will be first down and 10.
All the defensive players on the part of Cleveland who now are in transition. They were defending against the pass. Now all of a sudden Clay intercepts the pass. They didn't see it, but everybody then hustled down, and that gave a big gainer out of it. It was a result of the big gain.
Bengals go to work from their 21. Kennebrew out to the 25-yard line.
Now if they call that play at home, there would be boos coming in from every place, because what they're apparently going to do right now is sit on it, go in at halftime, caucus, and try to see what they're going to do with a 28-3 deficit. It's going to be a long, long road.
Unsportsmanlike conduct, number 88 of the offense.
Unsportsmanlike conduct call against Mike Martin, number 88 of the Bengals. Don't know what that one was about, but boy, right now everything going wrong as far as Cincinnati is concerned, and that's got to be tough for Sam Weich. Now, Sam, you've been in that position where you've had to take a team in where you're suddenly trailing by a much larger margin than you would have anticipated. What do you do in the halftime? What do you tell your troops?
Penalty will be as the play ended, and it'll be from that spot, 15 yards.
28-3. Cleveland is playing as well as they are offensively and defensively.
We're half the distance.
You get the team together at the half, and you tell them what a great meal we're going to have on the way back on the plane. Because right now, Cincinnati is in deep, deep trouble.
Well, the penalty moves the ball back inside the 13-yard line. 34 seconds to go. You saw Marty Schottenheimer indicating let's use those timeouts. They're hoping maybe they can get the football back. Kennebrew on the ground, and he's going nowhere. And let's see if Cleveland takes the timeout. They're trying to strip the ball away. The Browns are hungry. They want to add more insult to this one. Matthews and Hairston make the tackle, and the clock stops at 23 seconds.
You could almost see on his face what's going on inside as he displays what's going on outside. You know,
Cleveland have called 4-team timeout. It is their first one in this half. They have 2 remaining in the half.
This game was going well for Cincinnati.
It was.
Again,
yes.
Poor field position, penalties, and mistakes. You know, they took the ball, even though they were down 21-3, they marched the length of the field. They had an opportunity, as I said, to get going at 21-10 at the half. Now all of a sudden the game has got completely away from them, and what they've done is they've put a lot of fuel on Cleveland's fire. Cleveland's really excited right now as we look at the 10-minute ticker.
Buffalo has added another field goal, so the margin again 10 in that big game, and Miami has now moved on top of Philadelphia. The Dolphins still trying to hang in. Virtually everybody alive in the AFC, and that's what's making it so interesting coming down the stretch.
There's
Houston.
nobody really that can be declared. Now Cleveland next week has to go out and play the Raiders, and then the final game they have to play against Pittsburgh, and the AFC
Pittsburgh.
East, everybody in Pittsburgh, and the AFC East, everybody's in one pack. They're almost all tied every week. Someone moves ahead. I think if Buffalo beats Indianapolis today, they'll both be 7-6.
That's right. Indianapolis coming in with a 7-5 record. Well, let's take a look, and you see the division record on the right, because that's, if we get into the tiebreaker situation, then you have to go to that division record. And you see that Cleveland and Houston where they stand in the AFC Central with Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has the later game today. That's why we haven't seen the score thus far. Brooks being chased down at the 7-yard line. They'll stop the clock again. Hairston in there on the tackle, and now 15 seconds to go, and they're going to have to surrender the football.
Well, what can happen right now? What? 15 seconds left to go. They're punting from their end zone. If McNeil calls a fair catch, you can get a free kick. So Cleveland can get a free kick and go ahead now 31-3. So everything is falling apart for Cincinnati.
Well, and you look at the punts that Fulhag has made today, and a couple of times he's had to kick from the end zone, and they have not been long. 2 of them were less than 30 yards.
Watch 78 Carl Hairston here as Brooks tries to turn to the outside. Hairston is right on him, makes the tackle in open field. Now, Hairston is not making a lot of tackles. Clay Matthews, 57, made that tackle, but Hairston is the guy that caused Matthews to make the play.
Well, let's see how the Bengals try to play this now as they have their kicker Fulhag on with 15 seconds to go in the half, trailing 28-3.
Now, McNeil should move up. He should move up right now, because if he fair catches it, remember the clock stops also. And Cleveland has 1 timeout left. They could run a play, call a timeout, and kick a field goal.
Here comes the pressure, gets the kick off. That's his best effort of the day. McNeil all the way back to the 45-yard line in his own territory. He's well contained there. Now, that was a good punt under pressure that time by Fulhag, much better than we had seen earlier with 4 seconds remaining. Now we've got a problem on the field and some fists or arms being thrown down there in frustration.
And that's a 47-yard punt, but that frustration's on the part of Cincinnati right now. That wasn't a good punt. That was a great punt, because it was 47 yards out of his end zone, and they never gave McNeil an opportunity to return it. Remember, he did that twice in the second quarter, and they didn't punt very well, and Cleveland used that good field position to go in for 2 touchdowns.
Ball spotted at the 46-yard line, I believe it's where it's going to be placed. Marty Schottenheimer saw his troops early here struggling, it appeared, but then once they got on track, they have just been rolling up the points to lead at 28-3, and things have been going very, very badly for the Bengals. 4 seconds to play in this half. See what Kosar, who has already thrown 3 touchdown passes today, how he elects to utilize this last 4 seconds. Got 3 wide receivers to the right side. Could be Hail Mary time. Has some protection, steps up, has to go down to a knee, as that'll go into the book as a sack. Bussey was coming in on a delayed blitz. So we've reached the end of the first half here in Cleveland. It's a 28-3 right now, and Cleveland on top of this one. Kosar with 3 touchdown passes, and what a comeback after Cincinnati got the early 3. We'll be checking halftime activity. Stay. Halftime in Cleveland. The Browns lead this one, the Battle of Ohio, 28-3 after Cincinnati got on the board first. And coach, the Browns have been very effective, and they've lit the emotional fire of this sellout crowd.
Well, the defense has played very well week in and week out, but the big factor right here is the running game of the Browns. They took it out of mothballs, taking a lot of pressure off Kosar, and the defense has played very well when they had to.
NFL Live halftime activities will continue in a moment. We'll be back right after these messages. Halftime score is 28-3. Bernie Kosar has thrown 3 touchdown passes. There's been excellent work by that offensive line for the Browns. They've been effective both through the air and on the ground in this first half.
Well, the key was the defense in the second quarter. They got Cincinnati backed up. Cincinnati had a couple of penalties, but the defense played well. They got the ball on their own 30-yard line. They're in for a score. They got the ball about midfield. They're in for another score. Cincinnati makes a long drive. Matthews comes up with a dramatic interception on a 2-yard line. Laterals to Hairston, and it's 28-3.
Hairston lumbering down the sideline. That's a sight the Cleveland fans won't soon forget, and it's contributed to a big 14-point swing, and now the Browns protect a big lead. We're on our way to New York, checking in with Bob Costas in NFL Live. We'll update you on all the other activity around the NFL.
Welcome back to our NFL Live studios in New York. Bob Costas with Paul McGuire and Ahmad Rashad. Let's get you caught up. Buffalo is in front of Indianapolis. Halftime at the Hoosier Dome, 13-3. The Bills were the underdogs. There's Jim Kelly, their quarterback. But Paul McGuire picked them in this game. Kelly has now thrown at least 1 touchdown pass in 18 straight. Longest active streak in the league. It's Ronnie Harmon making the nice catch and tumbling in for the go-ahead touchdown. They led 7-0 at that point. And, Ahmad, it looks as if Buffalo plans to make it a race in the AFC East.
Well, that Paul McGuire. He also said earlier in the day that the Buffalo defense was going to stop Indianapolis running a game, and they have done that, which has put a lot of pressure on the quarterback. And the quarterback's not Trudeau, because Trudeau's hurt. They have Sean Salisbury, who has not played a down this year, so they're in trouble.
Yeah, he's preening over here. In fact, Dickerson has just 13 yards in the first half. Meanwhile, Harmon and Mueller each with better than 60 yards for Buffalo. They've controlled the ball, and they've controlled the Colts defensively. The Patriots are pounding the Jets. Another one he predicted. He said they'd win by 2 touchdowns. They lead 28-6. Late in the first half. Steve Grogan has thrown for 3 touchdowns, run for another. But that's Steve Nelson, the 14-year veteran linebacker, playing his last home game today, being congratulated by his teammates. Watch Grogan go to work in the first quarter. Cedric Jones is his target, 16-yard touchdown, 7-0 New England. Still in the first, it'll be Grogan back to work again. Jones again as the intended receiver. Bobby Humphrey is guilty of interference. That makes it 1st and goal for the Patriots at the Jet 5-yard line. A couple of plays later, Grogan takes matters into his own hand. This is his rushing touchdown. He rolls to his right, and in he goes for the TD. Ran for 1, threw for 3. There is one bad note as far as the Patriots are concerned. Steve Nelson injures his left knee, possible ligament damage, so he is out of this, his final home game in a 14-year career, maybe out for the rest of the season. But the Patriots lead it 28-6. Paul?
I think, the biggest problem with the Jets, first of all, they have no pass defense at all in this game. But the problem right now for the Jets defense is they can't get to Grogan. Grogan's standing there, Bobby, and he's got all day to throw the football. With the receivers he has and being able to throw the ball where he wants to, whenever he wants to, there's no way the Jets can come back in this game.
You told me to take the points with Miami at Philadelphia, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Well, let's take a look at this. Miami is in front of the Eagles, 14-10. It's halftime at Veterans Stadium. There's the former Eagle, now with the Dolphins, Ron Jaworski, injured up in the coach's box upstairs. And watching is on the 4th play of the game, the NFL sack leader, Reggie White, comes right up the middle and sacks Dan Marino. The whistle blew, so technically it is a sack. Now, no score, second quarter. Randall Cunningham rolls left and fires one deep for Mike Quick. Tumbling catch, it's a beauty, 44 yards and a touchdown, 7-0 lead. It takes Marino 3 plays to tie it. He threw for over 200 yards in the first half. They go 80 yards in 3 plays. Here's the last one. Duper latches onto it. 20-yard TD. Eventually, Miami has a 14-10 lead at halftime. However, the one thing you were wrong about. On the pregame show, I said watch out for Reggie White, especially if he lines up over center because Dwight Stevenson, the great Dolphins center, is hurt and out for the year. What happened on that play?
Am I going to listen to this until next week with you? I concede
Hey, I finally
to you,
got one right.
I concede to you, old great wizard.
Well, you're not having a bad day, though.
No,
Everything else you've been right about.
Except for the rush.
All right, moving right along. The Redskins are in front of the Cowboys at RFK 17-3. Jay Schrader just threw a 56-yard touchdown pass to Gary Clark as they lengthened the lead. The Saints playing at home, trying to win their 7th in succession and leading Houston 21-3. Next year, indeed, is here for the Saints. They've clinched at least a wild card, and they're still chasing San Francisco in the NFC West. Here's the first of 3 Bobby Hebert touchdown passes. Eric Martin makes the catch, steps away from the defender, 54-yard play. Now watch the special teams of the Saints, who have done a good job all year. Jeff Gossett tries to punt for Houston. Michael Adams and Van Jakes are there. They block it. That leads to another touchdown pass of 7 yards from Hebert to Martin. Later, Hebert throws 26 yards to Lonzel Hill, the son of the former great tight end J.D. Hill, 21-3. The Saints are in front. They're coming up on halftime in that game. The Browns are in front of the Bengals in Cleveland. The Browns have not played well the last couple of weeks, looking to turn that around.
The National Broadcasting Company presents the National Football League. Today from Cleveland.